Yes, I'm in a different location once again. Um, it's been a long week. It's been a long, very trying week. I've been ill for the beginning of it, and then my grandfather passed away at the end of it. So it's been a bit of a roller coaster, and I know myself. If I don't get back into a routine, I completely fall out of it, and then I spiral into something much worse. So, more than anything, I'm making this just so that I can keep the routine of making a video on Sunday. And the other half of it is that I believe that there are times to cry and grieve, because I believe that crying is normal and people should do it more often, and whenever they feel like they should be crying, in the same way that when things are funny and happy, they shouldn't feel, ashamed to smile and laugh. But I think there are also times where you just have to sort of sit down and do what you have to do. And, I'm making that a little bit easy on myself by doing a video that is kind of silly and also, just kind of easier for me to do, because it's just me talking about my brain, and laughing a little bit because I don't know if I'm crazy or not. And, for those of you who feel like you can't do stupid things while you're sad, you can. I think it helps to do funny things because it helps you sort of process what you're going through internally while you're, keeping a face. It is essentially a front, but it's also giving you time to decompress and not be sad all the time. And I don't want to be sad all the time. I think that sadness, while it is, in my opinion, a poison, in terms of mental health and things, I think that it needs to be released slowly instead of all at once. For those of you who want to include me into your grand schemes, please don't. Not yet. I'm still getting over everything. But, I did want to tell you that I am okay, for those of you who are worrying and for those of you who are passing me your condolences. And secondly, and this is the last thing I will say about the subject, I have started a fundraiser on Facebook. Yeah, I know, everybody's favorite social media platform. I've started a fundraiser on Facebook for the Alzheimer's Society, because it is something that my grandfather suffered with throughout the end of his life. I would say in the last 15 years of his life. He had it before because he had a stroke about 15 years ago, but it definitely worsened after the stroke. And yeah, so I've started raising funds for the Alzheimer's Society. I will put that link below if you wish to donate. If you can't donate to Facebook, I don't know, I guess you could PayPal me, which is always in the link below. Just make sure you DM me and let me know what that money is for, because I don't just want random funds to come into my account. But yeah, I will leave that link below. Also, commissions are open. If you want something for your donation, I'm happy to, draw something for you. I've been doing a lot of portraits, a lot of bust drawings, and a lot of full-bodied portraits. If you want something like that, please go see my Twitter. I have some examples of my work there. But yeah, that is, something that I have always done to honor the spirit of people. I did it for my mother. I did it for a bunch of other people who were important to me. And I wanted to do it for my granddad, because he is someone that I truly appreciate in my life, that I feel like truly added to my experience in life. And yeah, but what am I doing today aside from all of that? So I had a very significant fever last week. And when I have a fever, or when I'm ill in general, I have like all these like crazy dreams, like crazy fever dreams, which is why this is called this. And I tend to watch like documentaries because they soothe me in a way that I don't understand. Because a lot of people avoid watching documentaries. I like to watch documentaries about animals. And a lot of people avoid that because they talk about global warming. And I think global warming is a really important issue. Like, I'm not the epitome of like recycling and shit, but I think it's truly important, and I give to that cause whenever I can, whether that's in physical help or monetary help or whatever. And so I watch these documentaries to remind me of the severity of global warming. It's me and my brain, and I need to watch like how other things live for me to like continue living. I know it's really weird, but that's what I do. And I'm particularly interested in marine life. I love watching, I mean, it's on brand. I'm Bengali, so it makes sense. I love watching things about fish and I love sharks, I love jellyfish, and things like that. And you know, the coral reefs, and I love learning about, you know, weird facts about animals. And while I was watching these documentaries, it was mainly Blue Planet, and then I watched Our Planet. I think it's called Our Planet or One Planet, and a bunch of other random ones on YouTube about sharks. And like, I had a bunch of epiphanies, and maybe they're crazy ideas, I don't know, I will let you decide. I gave them all names. I just want you to know that I am 110% like serious. I'm not joking in any of this. I am being 100% serious when I tell you these ideas, and I don't know if they're brilliant or if I'm just an idiot. Like, I don't know. I don't know if I'm a genius or a moron. But I will share these ideas with you. Also, you can take this video as like an open letter to the UN or NASA, because I don't know how this came into my fucking brain, but I need to get it out, you know? Like, I need to get it out because I feel like I'm crazy for thinking these things, but also I think they're in a small way brilliant. I'm sorry. So the first one, and yes, I did write them all on my hand because I don't believe in ink poisoning. So the first one I called white roofing. And okay, so basically while I was watching, okay, it's worse than it sounds. When I was watching all these documentaries, David Attenborough, who was narrating Blue Planet, he talked a lot about the Arctic melting and how by next year, 2020, in the summer, we will have no North Pole. There will be no Arctic Circle in the summer because it will all melt away and then come back in the winter, which is not how it was, and not how it currently is, and how it shouldn't be, because the ocean is rising and the planet is getting warmer, because there is nothing to cool the planet down if one of our biggest refrigerators just doesn't exist in the summer. And something he said about the Arctic and also Antarctica is like, part of the reason that we need it is because it's white, and the white bounces the sunlight out back into space. So I thought, like, if like we can deal with the freezing problem later. I understand the severity of the freezing problem, but we can do something manual about the white problem, right? Like, if we need like a bright surface for the sunlight to bounce off of, as opposed to the black surface of the ocean, which is currently what the Arctic will become in 2020 in summer, and it will suck in all the sunlight and burn us all. Why don't we just paint all our roofs white? Right? Why don't we just like paint the entire planet's roofs, like take on our own initiative, like we can, you know, fund the paint through the planet, whatever, But like, what if we just made every surface that faces up, like, I'm not saying like all hats, because I feel like that would limit people's expression, and that's really important nowadays. But like roofing and, you know, the roofs of cars, like, can we not just make them white, and then collectively that will be enough to bounce some of the sun's rays back into space? Like, I've told this to a couple of friends, and they all look at me like I'm crazy. And I don't know if I'm being crazy. And I am not a scientist. I am not a scientist. Okay, I might be just a moron. But, I mean, to me, it sounds like a good idea. Unless I've completely misunderstood it, which is entirely possible. So I'm going to move on to the next, like, fever dream or idea that I have. So the other one is to do with overpopulation. So currently the planet is overpopulated. It's largely overpopulated because we have modern medicine, we're living longer, and our birth rates are higher because of it as well. I feel like a crazy person. So half, like, from looking at the globe, like half the world is just the Pacific Ocean. Why can't we invest in the Pacific Ocean and create islands? Because it's been done on a very small scale in, like, Dubai, where they've made man-made islands. But why don't we invest in actually creating islands in the Pacific? And then we can, you know, whoever wants to migrate there can migrate there. Typically people flock to islands because there's a water source and all of that. But also, the people there can earn their keep by maintaining the island. I mean, am I insane? Like, I don't know. I can't tell. Like, I don't know if it would damage the world more or help it. But I feel as though if we made, like, artificial islands in the middle of the Pacific, we could at least alleviate some of the pressure of overpopulation, or create, like, new habitats for animals who can no longer go, like, to the fucking Arctic. And we can paint them white, like, in conjunction with my white roofing theory. Just think about it. Next idea is something I call the Spartan birth cap. Again, it's a lot worse than it sounds. Like, it's not as bad as it sounds, sorry. It sounds a lot worse than it is. I think, like, the Spartans, you know, when they existed as a city-state, the Spartans weren't allowed to, at least the Spartan men, weren't allowed to get married until they were about 30. They had to be in the army until they were 30. Okay, like, I'll get onto the conscription part later. But I think that people, okay, this has gone through, like, my brain a lot. I think that people recklessly have children. And originally I thought that maybe only people who were clever could have children. But I'm scrapping that because I feel like that's unfair. Like, majorly unfair. Like, I don't want to do that. But I think that people should only be able to have children after they turn 30, when they are more or less stable and they are able to raise proper human beings instead of just really, really angry and upset children. I think that people should only be able to have children after they are 30, and that's why you would be prevented from having children up until you reach the age of 30. I mean, in my brain it makes sense, because I would not want to have a child before I'm at least 25, which is next year, and that terrifies me. But that is my opinion. I mean, I'm not against anyone who has kids before that. I was born to a mother who was only 20 years old. But I think that, or I find that children of older parents typically are more stable. And I work with kids. So, I mean, That is my opinion. I don't work with kids. I work with teenagers, and I find that people who have parents who are, not struggling, and I find that people over 30 are less likely to struggle. So over 30, like in my brain, it makes sense. I mean, in my opinion, nobody should be having a kid at 18. Like, why are you doing that? You're 18 to 25, that is your time to live your life. Why are you having kids? But anyways, my fourth theory is conscription. I think, and the Secular Jihadist podcast actually reposted my section of me saying that people don't understand what dying is anymore. I believe that people don't fully understand the severity and the finality of death. I truly, truly think that people who have lived in peaceful countries like the US, the UK, like Western countries, first world countries, do not understand suffering like to a really true degree, which is why I feel like a lot of people are very entitled. And I mean, I saw it when the whole suicide forest thing was happening on YouTube, where Logan Paul had recorded a video of a dead body in the suicide forest in Japan, Akigahara, and it was disgusting, the reaction from some of his fans. But they were also children, and they didn't understand that this man had killed himself, And I think that that is very disturbing. And because of that, I think that conscription should be mandatory. And I don't mean that people should be subjected to war, because typically I don't think that war is a very good way of dealing with foreign relations. But I do respect traditions of learning how to survive without technology. Like, I do have a very deep respect for that, and also understanding life and death and knowing where things come from. Like, if you're going to eat meat, you should know where meat comes from. You should know that that is a dead animal that you are eating. And maybe some people will be like, that is so sadistic for you to subject children to that, but I don't want to subject children to that. I want to subject, people who are going to become adults to that. I want 16 to, let's say, 21-year-olds to, join the army, learn how to fish, how to hunt, how to cook, just experience life without all the, I don't want to call them luxuries because people are going to take that out of context, but the things we're used to now, like indoor heating and instant meals. I think that it's really important for people to understand what living is alongside surviving. I think it's really important for people to understand what suffering is, and that does not necessarily mean inflicting pain on yourself, but it does mean, struggling for a little bit, having a hard time, and things like that. And that's why I think conscription is important. Many, many countries do it. Israel does it, Sweden, I think a lot of Nordic countries do it. Nordic, Scandinavian countries do it. A lot of demilitarized countries do it, like South Korea, and they have a border with a very problematic neighbor. They do it. But I think it's a good idea to bring us back in touch with reality, because I fully do not understand people. Like, even when I was young, before my mother had passed away, I did not understand that people being sent to death for tiny little things because of my religion, people being stoned to death because they were gay in, Islamic law countries like Saudi Arabia and Iran. Like, I did not fully understand that people were dying. In my brain, it was like, oh, God told me to, so, it's the law. And that's really fucked up. And I think that people should be able to understand the finality of all of that. Like, once you're dead, you're done. And it scares me that people don't understand that. And I think that that leads to a bigger problem, because nobody understands how final death is. Nobody gives a fuck. and it's really scary. And that branches out to things like our planet and animal species dying out and things like that. And yeah, I've heard the argument that animal species are, sometimes destined to die out because of, natural selection and things like that. But we have lost so many of them in the last 20 years. And it's bizarre that people are still talking like that. Anyways, I wanted to end on a slightly lighter note with an apocalypse theory. Not really an apocalypse theory, just something that I thought about. Like, anytime that I'm overly sick or I'm on medication, either antibiotics or the 6 months that I was on antidepressants a couple of years ago, I have always, dreamt end of world shit. Like, it's really terrifying, and I know it's just like a fever dream. That is all it is. It's just a dream because of my fever and because my body is in turmoil. But I always dream end of world shit. And because I've watched so many documentaries about them, I fully think that if killer whales were bipedal, like they had 2 legs, or quadrupedal, or they had 4 legs, and they were land animals, we would be fucking done. The human race would be slaves to them, because killer whales are fucking terrifying. Like, I have watched so many documentaries on killer whales and sharks, and let me tell you, there is no fucking way that sharks are going to take down even one killer whale, because killer whales are fucking savages. And if they were land animals, we would have no fucking chance. They hunt in packs, they learn new methods of hunting, like they figured out how to hunt sharks, something that was not normally within their food. Like, it's not something that they normally eat. Like, if they were land animals, we would be fucked. Like, we would be fucking done. And I am so glad that they are in the ocean. Like, they are fucking terrifying. They play with their fucking, like cruelly. They will throw around their food to each other like it's a fucking ball. It is terrifying. And that is, like, I never, like, once the killer whales figure, like, once this ocean rises and we're just a bunch of, like, seafaring people that live on tiny little islands and rafts, we're fucking done. The killer whales are gonna fucking get us. I'm sorry. But yeah, those are my fever dreams. Those are my 5 theories. White roofing, Pacific Islands, the Spartan birth cap, conscription, and fucking killer whales. Those are my fever dreams. I hope that this video made you think, made you laugh, made you think I'm fucking crazy, because I am. And, if any of these are really good ideas at all, like, you don't need to credit me. Just get it done. Save the fucking planet. Just tell NASA or tell the UN, because I tell me. Like, fucking tell me. Am I thinking, is my brain okay? Like, have I understood the information correctly? Because to me, all of these theories make perfect sense. Except maybe the killer whale one. But, like, the rest of them, they make perfect sense to me. Although, the only advantage we have over killer whales is that there are more of us. Honestly speaking. Anyways, I'll end this video. Thank you to all of you who have sent me your condolences. I really appreciate them, and for everyone for just giving me my space to do my thing, because it's been a lot. I've been to A&E, I've been to hospital, I've had to deal with family. My brain is at its wit's end, which is why I'm, spending some time with close friends in their house. But thank you for joining me for my, my half an hour of just madness on Sunday. And yeah. I think I'll end on the message that no matter what happens, most of the time, everything's going to be fine. Most of the time, everything is going to be fine. It's sometimes that the saddest points in our life just stand out because they're sad. And it is by no means something that we should focus on. And always remember that people's lives are worth celebrating more than they are worth mourning. Because everything is gonna fucking end. Everything. And sometimes there's no point in just sitting around and crying about it. And other times, of course there is. Of course there's a point to that. But yeah, I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.